Our new Vanna begins with Haruto, who became shut in for 5 years after being bullied at school. Then suddenly, a flash of light occurs and a goddess welcomes him to heaven. She carefully chooses Haruto to be reincarnated since he died in his room. The goddess is about to reincarnate him into a magical world, so she blesses him with a set of overpowered skills. Thinking back on his boring life, Haruto wants to enjoy this new one, and thus he is reincarnated into a royal family as the first prince named Rihard. His father is King Jilk, and his mother is a hero named Galt, who defeated the Demon King. However, when the court mage performs a magic aptitude test, they see that Haruto is only at level 2 with just barrier magic and no elemental magic. This would be considered a disgrace to the king and the hero if the public found out that their newborn is weak. So his own father and mother order their servant to silently dispose of Haruto, considering him trash. The goddess observes the situation and becomes worried. She tells her friend that she granted Haruto a level of 1002, but this world's level measuring device won't go above 2 digits. Moreover, she forgot to give him an elemental power. As a result, Haruto is thrown away into the woods. This goddess is a bit of a knucklehead. Anyway, in the woods, Haruto recalls the barrier magic that the mage mentioned, so he imagines it and the barrier appears. He can also freely change its format at will, so he uses the barrier on himself to fly up into the sky. Haruto is pleased with his powers because they don't even burn a little bit of his mana. Then Haruto lifts the whole area out from the ground and the wolf realizes she's totally screwed. She surrenders to him, but Haruto thinks his ears are ringing. Haruto still proceeds, and then the lady wolf speaks, surrendering a second time. Haruto realizes it was for speaking. Haruto introduces himself and explains to her that his father, the king, threw him away for having weak mana. But the wolf lady named Flaw can see that Haruto has an enormous amount of mana that easily surpasses human limits. Seeing this, Flaw mistakes Haruto for being a demon king, and Haruto goes along with her imagination, saying that he was a demon king in his previous life. Flaw then waits for a punishment of death for trying to kill Haruto, but Haruto shows generosity and spares her life. Haruto uses his barrier to create a telepathic link between them to transfer their thoughts. Then, a man arrives claiming to be Haruto's relative. He came to save him and take him in, but Fla claims that Haruto is her master, so he belongs to her. His name is Gold, and he offers some milk for Haruto, but Fla refuses. Gold tells her that he lost his first child during childbirth, and Haruto was abandoned because he was weak. He wanted to save him because it doesn't matter to him if he's weak. He believes every child should have a chance to live. Hearing his backstory, Fla bursts into tears out of sympathy. Seeing her reaction, Gold offers to take her in as well. They come to a deal, and Fla agrees to his offer. Gold then breaks Haruto's basket to fool everyone into thinking Haruto died. With that, Haruto is adopted by Gold and his wife, Natalia. 9 years go by, and in that time, Haruto gets a little sister named Charlotte. However, it's clear she doesn't like him. Instead, she loves Fla and wants to play with her. But Fla disagrees as she needs to help Haruto. Haruto asks Fla to go with Charlotte, and she agrees. Natalia tells Haruto that Charlotte is perhaps shy around him because he's a boy but is carefree when she's with Fla. Natalia wants Haruto to be social since he's the heir of their family and suggests he do something special for Charlotte to bond with her. However, Haruto is planning to leave home once he comes of age. He even made a clone with a barrier, but doesn't move or talk. If he were to go off on his own, naturally Fla would follow him, and if that happens, Charlotte would hate him for her entire life. Then Gold calls Haruto out to the yard because he wants to train him in swordsmanship since Haruto has the lowest amount of mana. Haruto knows he won't get away from it. Also, Gold is a seasoned warrior at the top-notch level, nicknamed Earth-Shattering Warhammer, so Haruto uses a barrier on himself to make up for his lack of physical strength. When Haruto tries to strike, Gold sees the powerful attack and dodges it in time because it's powerful enough to put a dent in the ground. Gold is surprised to his core. However, Haruto still thinks that he's at level 2 because when he tested himself, his level showed as 002. But even with that level, he can do anything he wants with his barrier magic, even if he lacks elemental power. Later that night, Natalia notices that Gold is lost in thought. Gold tells Natalia that he trained Haruto today, but after seeing his powers, he thinks Haruto might be a reincarnation of a demon. There are records that one of the royal family members got involved with a demon, so it could be possible that Haruto has demon traits in him. Since the demon wolf, Fla, considers him her master, it could be possible. However, both Gold and Natalia don't care and want Haruto to live a normal and happy life. While everything seemed to be going fine, one day Haruto heard a commotion outside. He saw through his surveillance barrier that his father's army had been seriously wounded by attackers. Haruto rushed to his father, and Gold told him it was the work of thieves who had attacked them out of the blue. Flea blamed Gold for his incompetence, which put Haruto in a bad mood. He healed almost all the wounded soldiers with his barrier magic, but didn't tell anyone he had done so. Later that night, when Haruto woke up to answer nature's call, he saw Flea standing outside his room. Haruto realized she was still upset because he had gotten angry at her earlier. She really was cute. Haruto apologized for losing his temper, and then he and Flea went outside. He used his surveillance barrier to locate the thieves who had attacked Gold and his army. Fortunately, one of his cameras spotted them, so Haruto quickly used his barrier to fly himself and fully to their location. Incidentally, Charlotte saw them flying away. At the thieves' hideout, some soldiers were involved with them. Unfortunately for them, Haruto arrived, taking down their guards. He quickly froze the thieves with his barrier magic, and when one of them tried to speak nonsense, Haruto made an example out of him. After tying them up, the captain of their group told Haruto that they were soldiers of the neighboring empire infiltrating to cause chaos. They even had a mole working for them, helping them pass the borders of the empire. That was all they knew. Haruto realized that someone more influential than Gold must be behind this plan. The attackers begged for their lives, but Haruto ordered Flea to burn down the entire fort, as he couldn't spare those who had attacked his father. Flea burned it all down. Now the matter at hand was to find out why the Imperial soldiers were involved in attacking his father. For the time being, Haruto sent an anonymous letter to inform Gold about this. He mentioned the mole at the border and how he had taken down the thieves and their fort. Somehow, Gold also suspected the involvement of the Imperial family. Meanwhile, Charlotte wanted to know who had helped them. Gold suspected Flea, given she was a demon and a powerful one at that, but Charlotte remembered seeing Haruto and Flea flying. She asked Flea, thinking there were two Harutos. When she saw Haruto flying, she ran to his room but found him sleeping like a log. However, she couldn't sense Haruto's overwhelming mana while he was asleep. Flea was impressed that Charlotte could sense Haruto's mana, and as few people could do that. Charlotte wanted to know more about Haruto's powers, but Flea kept silent. Charlotte later told Haruto about this, and he started setting up more surveillance barriers to keep an eye on her movements as he wanted to hide his powers from her. For several days, Charlotte kept following Haruto whenever he tried to sneak out, spying on him. Finally, on the 7th day, the situation reversed and Haruto was the one keeping an eye on her. Natalia and Charlotte were about to go on a trip. Haruto suddenly received an alert from the barrier he had placed around Charlotte, indicating they were in danger. Their carriage was attacked by Imperial soldiers. Natalia fled to save Charlotte, blocking their magic attacks, but one spell hit her leg. Haruto communicated with Charlotte through a barrier spell, guiding her to safety. Natalia noticed someone was guiding Charlotte but didn't question it. However, their escape led them to a high cliff. Even so, Natalia jumped off and landed roughly. Charlotte pointed out a cave where they could hide. Natalia took her inside and saw it was filled with luminous plants. She told Charlotte she would go out to find the hero who had helped them reach the cave and asked Charlotte to stay hidden. Just as Natalia left, the cave was covered by an illusion spell and the attackers found her. Natalia considered ending her life rather than being captured, but her dagger was shattered into pieces and an electric shock knocked her out. Haruto arrived just in time, furious that these men had harmed his mother. With a single command, he sent them flying away. He brought Natalia into the cave, asking Charlotte to look after her. She stopped him and asked if he was the hero who saved people and punished sinners. Haruto hesitated, as it was such a childish question, but eventually he went along with it and accepted the role of a hero, asking her to keep it a secret. After cleaning up the mess, Haruto returned home and Gold got the news of their situation. He wanted to thank the mysterious hero who had saved them. Gold then asked Haruto about the incident, but Haruto remained calm, not worried about the Imperial soldiers, which Gold believed. Natalia and Charlotte then returned home and Gold was relieved to see them safe. For the first time, Charlotte showed affection for her older brother, shocking both of her parents. She kept it a secret that Haruto was the one who had helped them. As episode 3 starts, Charlotte now goes to Haruto every day to play with him, and Haruto doesn't dislike it, especially seeing her cuteness. However, Charlotte gets drawn to his surveillance screen and thinks it's ancient magic. Haruto explains that it's hard to learn wasp magic without proper information. Charlotte then takes Haruto to the castle's library, and he realizes for the first time that their castle has a library. Charlotte picks up a few books on ancient magic like a real librarian because their mother, Natalia, and Flea always read these books to her. Since she can't read herself, she sits on Haruto's lap to read the book, but Haruto tells her to sit beside him on a chair. However, Charlotte is used to sitting on Flea's or her mother's lap while reading. Haruto begins reading the book and discovers that gods can travel between worlds, similar to the anime he used to watch in Japan. Hearing this, Charlotte becomes excited and wants to know more about Anime. Haruto tries to explain that it would be difficult for her to understand, but she insists. So Haruto simply explains that anime is like moving pictures. Seeing Haruto's enthusiasm, Charlotte wants to see anime as well. Haruto is swayed by her cuteness, and after 2 weeks, he somehow brings Google into this world. Since there were many genres, Charlotte gets a bit confused, but she eventually chooses a magical girl anime and becomes instantly captivated by it. However, the anime is in Japanese, so she wants to learn the language even though she's still a child. Haruto goes along with it and teaches her the basics. She turns out to be a genius, mastering the language in just 2 hours, and soon she starts searching for word meanings on Google herself. 2 weeks pass in an instant, and Charlotte's love for anime grows fully, especially for zombie and Power Rangers type anime. Haruto doesn't want to let her watch anime all day long, but she looks so cute while enjoying her shows. However, it could affect her health, so as a big brother, Haruto decides to be a bit strict. Since she's becoming an otaku, Charlotte wants to start another season of anime, but Haruto stops her, setting a ground rule of watching anime for only 3 hours a day, as it's not healthy for a kid to watch that much TV. This comes as a real shock to her. At dinner, Charlotte is dozing off, so Gold asks Haruto what she's been up to as she spends all her time with him. Charlotte quickly gets up to tell them that she's studying ancient magic with Haruto. After dinner, Charlotte continues to follow Haruto with her puppy dog eyes for more anime, but Haruto is firm about the 3-hour rule. She can tags along in the bath because she has nothing else to do besides watch anime. Typical otaku behavior. Charlotte notices Haruto's royal birthmark, but she has no idea it's a royal mark and instead thinks it's a hero's mark. Finally, when it's night, Charlotte is still sticking to him while their mother, Natalia, enjoys herself and supports Charlotte from afar. Then the day comes when Gold leaves to wipe out the remaining thieves, and Charlotte starts worrying about him. She wants Haruto to do something since he's the hero of justice. Haruto, once again swayed by her puppy dog eyes, gives in. She wants Haruto to transform like a hero, so he fulfills her wish by choosing the look of La Luche Vi Britannia. Charlotte wants to tag along as well, but Haruto refuses because it's dangerous. Seeing her sad, Haruto gives her a live surveillance feed, which brightens her up. Haruto then finds those thieves and traps them with his barrier. It's way too easy. He confronts them to give Charlotte a live anime experience. After defeating them, Gold arrives and isn't hostile toward Haruto, asking for his name. Haruto, unable to come up with anything, names himself Still Pending. Honestly, it's the crappiest name, and even Haruto knows it. Gold wants to know his motive, so Haruto has to go along with cheesy hero dialogue to make her happy. This cheesy hero, Still Pending, becomes an embarrassing reality with many heroic deeds. After a few days, Haruto successfully creates a working clone of himself, but it becomes a carbon copy. Charlotte, who is right there, becomes confused seeing 2 brothers. Then Haruto and Charlotte are called out because the crown prince and princess are visiting them. Haruto knows they are his blood siblings, but when Gold greets Princess Miran first, Prince Lise thinks Gold disrespected him for being second. Lise is a cocky brat, but Gold apologizes. Miran tells him to mind his manners, but the brat starts insulting his own older sister because he sees Miran as a tool for political relationships. Haruto can't believe what his royal mother and father have been teaching him. Prince Lise continues his tirade and looks down on Haruto because he's Gold's adopted son and a weak level 2. He gets cocky and challenges Haruto to a duel in the yard to teach him a lesson. Haruto notices that Lise is at level 9 and could max out at 40. Lise takes the first swing, but Haruto dodges it quickly. Lise then orders Haruto not to dodge because he wants to teach him manners, so Haruto complies. But no matter how much Lise attacks, Haruto's barrier protects him. Lise becomes frustrated and demands Haruto fight back. This is what Haruto wanted to hear. He gets back in the game and beats up Lise hardcore. Miran intervenes, telling Lise to stop because he's making a fool of himself. His ego hurt, Lise uses a fireball to harm Haruto, but Haruto cancels his spell. Once again, Miran tells Lise to stop, but he thinks Haruto is cheating because it takes an intermediate mage to cast Magic Absorb. Hearing this, Haruto decides to return every fireball he absorbed, and Lise has no choice but to admit defeat. As a big sister, Miran apologizes to Haruto, but he doesn't mind and takes his leave. Haruto wonders if his royal mother and father are still keeping tabs on him, but then again, they did throw him away for being weak. Haruto realizes anything is possible. And with that, our episode 3 comes to an end. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive the latest updates on my newly uploaded videos.
The story begins in a dark, damp dungeon where a single drop of water awakens a creature, a monster. As the creature regains consciousness, it recalls its past life as a noble knight. He had been slain by a demon, but was given a second chance at life. To his shock, he has been reincarnated as an S-rank behemoth, a monstrous entity so powerful it usually takes an entire army to defeat. Despite his intimidating new form, he discovers his appearance is not what he expected. He is a cat-like behemoth, and this revelation leaves him stunned. The knight resolves to uphold his previous life's vow to protect humanity, even in this monstrous body. With her adventurer's badge in hand, she sets off for the dungeon, blissfully unaware of the chaos brewing within. The behemoth begins testing his newfound powers. His first prey is a slime, which he defeats and consumes. To his surprise, he absorbs the slime's skills, an ability that allows him to copy skills by eating other monsters. This discovery fuels his hunger, and he takes down a wyvern, gaining the fireball skill, followed by a minotaur, from which he acquires ice lance, and then a golem, earning the stone skin skill. While exploring, the knight-turned-behemoth stumbles upon a treasure chest containing a red crystal, but it's a trap, and he is sent tumbling down to face an earth dragon. A fierce battle ensues, with the behemoth barely surviving by using his wits and stolen skills. Just as he is on the verge of death, Arya arrives. Arya, mistaking the injured behemoth for a regular cat due to his adorable appearance, takes him back to her home. She nurses him to health, feeds him, and treats him with kindness. The behemoth, touched by her care, decides to repay her by secretly protecting her. When Arya leaves for her next adventure, the behemoth sneaks onto her boat. Along the way, Arya encounters goblins. Though she fends off most of them with her impressive speed, a goblin mage nearly takes her by surprise. The behemoth leaps into action, saving her and defeating the mage. Grateful, Arya decides to adopt him and names him Tama. The duo returns to the guild, where Arya completes her promotion quest. While celebrating her achievement, a lecherous adventurer named Kasmin attempts to harass her. Tama defends Arya, biting and scratching Kasmin. Humiliated, Kasmin vows revenge and later returns with a notice declaring Tama a dangerous beast. The decree, signed by a noble, leaves no room for protest. Kasmin offers Arya a deal. If she defeats him in a duel, Tama can live. If she loses, she must marry him. Arya reluctantly agrees, and the guild receptionist, Arnold, acts as the referee. Kasmin allows Arya one assistant, but no one steps forward until Tama does. The duel begins. Tama initially dodges Kasmin's attacks, hesitant to use his monster skills and risk revealing his true identity. Arya fights valiantly but struggles against Kasmin's superior strength. When Arya loses her blade and is on the verge of defeat, Tama makes a choice. Unleashing his howling skill, he incapacitates Kasmin and secures their victory. Though Tama's use of a skill reveals his unusual nature, Arnold speculates that he might be an elemental cat with intelligence, a rare and mysterious creature. This revelation shifts the guild's perception, and Tama's secret as an S-rank monster remains safe, for now. As the episode ends, Tama reflects on his new life as the loyal companion of an elf adventurer. Despite his monstrous form, he has found a new purpose: to protect Arya at all costs. Stay tuned for episode 2, where Arya and Tama embark on more adventures. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with the latest episode. In a magical world where unique skills are granted by consuming fruits of the ancestral tree, two childhood friends, Lena and Light, embark on their long-awaited journey to receive their destined skills. These mysterious fruits are akin to devil fruits from One Piece, but with one key rule: eating a second fruit results in death. Light dreams of becoming a legendary adventurer, and Lena wishes for the same so they can stay together. With a mix of excitement and nervousness, they step forward to claim their futures. At the church, the sisters distribute the fruits, explaining the rules and warning against the fatal consequences of consuming a second one. First up is Lena. She nervously eats her fruit, and her body radiates with a dazzling light. She has acquired the Sword Saint skill, one of the rarest and most powerful abilities, marking her as a chosen one. The church immediately notifies the guild, and Lena is summoned to the Holy Capital to fulfill her destiny. Then it's Light's turn. Hoping for a combat skill, he takes a bite of his fruit. However, his heart sinks as he gains the Fruit Master skill, an ability related to farming and cultivating fruits. It's the opposite of what he wished for. Though disheartened, Lena promises to stay with him. But the sisters and the Empire insist she must leave immediately for the capital to train as the next Sword Saint. Reluctantly, she departs, leaving Light behind. 3 months later, Light has resigned himself to life as a fruit farmer, using his skill to grow and sell fruits at the market. He trains daily in the woods, clinging to the dream of one day catching up to Lena. Meanwhile, Lena has become a rising star in the capital, earning S-rank adventurer status and widespread fame. Light's only solace comes from Isa, an orphan the village chief brought to him. She helps him with the farm and makes his days a little brighter. However, tragedy strikes when Isa unknowingly uses the skill fruits from Light's separate stash to prepare dinner. Unaware of the danger, Light eats the meal and collapses. He remembers the fatal consequence of consuming a second skill fruit, but does not blame Isa for the mistake. To everyone's shock, Light survives. Not only does he recover, but he also gains a new skill, Sword God, which drastically enhances his attack power, magic resistance, and swordsmanship. Isa, who also ate the meal, awakens the appraisal skill, allowing her to see the hidden abilities of others. It's then revealed that Light's Fruit Master skill has granted him immunity to the poison of skill fruits, making him the only person in the world with 2 skills. Determined to fulfill his dream, Light takes Isa to the Adventurers Guild to register as an adventurer. Isa uses her appraisal skill to memorize the abilities of the other adventurers and notices that no one else possesses more than 1 skill, except for Light. At the guild, Light encounters Jean, a condescending adventurer who mocks him for being a farmer. When Jean tries to attack him, Light effortlessly blocks the strike, surprising everyone. Light brushes off the encounter, focused on taking his first quest to test his newfound powers. His mission: defeat a slime. Despite its high defense, Light easily cuts through it with his Sword God skill, completing the quest and earning enough money to buy plenty of food. Meanwhile, Jean and his companions face an ogre during their first quest, but are no match for the beast. In desperation, they lead the ogre to Light, hoping to use him as bait. Realizing the danger, Light steps up to confront the ogre. With Isa's warnings in mind, he carefully dodges its attacks and uses his maximum power to deliver a fatal blow, killing the ogre in a single strike. Light returns to the guild with the ogre horn as proof, shocking everyone. Even Jean and his friends admit to witnessing his incredible feat. Just then, an S-rank party enters the guild, and among them is Lena. Light approaches her, eager to reunite with his childhood friend. However, she doesn't recognize him, leaving Light heartbroken. And so, Episode 1 concludes with Light's resolve to grow stronger and reclaim the bond he shared with Lena. Stay tuned for Episode 2, where Light and Isa's journey as adventurers unfolds. After feeling down earlier, Light goes out for pizza with Isa to lift his spirits. While eating, he accidentally chokes on his food, and a girl hands him some water. Turns out, it's Lena. She's been hiding from her party members. Light is thrilled to see her and excitedly tells her about his second skill, explaining everything. Lena is genuinely happy for him, knowing that he can now chase his dream. However, when Light asks her about her party, she hesitates. She admits that things aren't great, but she can't leave because a holy sister from the church is forcing her to stay. She warns Light to stay away from them. It turns out that her party once took down a serpent, but they ignored the damage their battle caused to nearby farm fields. When Lena raised concerns, the holy sister brushed them off, saying people would only remember the victory. Seeing how unhappy Lena is, Light invites her to join his party, but she refuses, fearing the consequences. She decides to endure it for now. Back at the guild, Light earns 10,000 gold for slaying an ogre, but he can't celebrate. He's still worried about Lena. Isa points out that Lena's party is in a private room, and when they peek inside, they see the leader, Grouse, partying with women. He's nothing more than an arrogant show-off. Suddenly, a guild receptionist enters, informing them that their reckless actions have caused a reservoir to dry up. Grouse dismisses it, claiming that small sacrifices are inevitable. Light steps in, demanding Lena's release from their party. However, Grouse kicks him out, stating that only S-rank adventurers are allowed in. Even the other party members warn Light that if he gets involved, the Holy Sister will come after him. The next day, as Lena's party continues goofing off, she can't stop thinking about Light. Finally, she tells them she wants to leave, but Grouse, who is far stronger than her, stops her effortlessly. Knowing she can't win in a fight, Lena is forced to stay. As punishment, Grouse slaps her. He sees her as an important pawn and refuses to let her go. Despite the pain, Lena convinces herself that staying will allow her to help others. But before she can accept her fate, Light steps in, blocking their way. He calls out to Lena, reminding her of their childhood dream of becoming adventurers together. Lena refuses to leave, so Light challenges Grouse to a duel. Grouse, amused, accepts, on the condition that if he wins, Light will be banished from the guild in this country. Lena and Isa try to stop him, but it's too late. The battle begins. Grouse possesses a superhuman speed skill, making him incredibly fast. He strikes first, and though Light manages to block it, he realizes that Grouse is far stronger than he expected. The sheer weight of Grouse's blows is overwhelming, and Light quickly finds himself on the defensive. His sword is shattered from the force of an attack. Grouse then offers Lena a cruel deal. If she swears to obey him for life, he'll spare Light's life. But Light isn't done yet. Seeing his determination, Lena places her faith in him and stands by his side. Furious, Grouse moves to finish Light off, but Light finally understands his mistake. He had been trying to match Grouse's speed, which wasn't his strength. Instead, he focuses purely on his instincts and counterattacks. With just a deck brush borrowed from an old man nearby, Light defeats Grouse in a shocking turn of events. Everyone watching is left speechless. Lena is finally free from the toxic party and happily joins Light and Isa's group. Has a new beginning, but more trouble ahead. A week after the duel, Light is still recovering from his injuries, staying at Lena's house. Despite their simple life, farming fruit and sharing meals, Lena is happier than ever. However, their peaceful days don't last long. A messenger from the Holy Sister arrives, demanding Lena return to the S-rank sacred party. But Lena refuses. She wants to be an adventurer on her own terms. Angered, the Holy Sister uses her influence to punish them. She manipulates the guild into giving them only low-paying, downgraded jobs. But Lena doesn't care. She happily accepts the work, embracing her new freedom. Their first jobs? Rebuilding homes, fighting sewer rats, and finding missing cats. They work tirelessly, but after an entire day of labor, they barely earn enough for 3 pizzas. Even so, Lena is grateful, and for the first time, she sees Light smiling too. Though this isn't the glamorous adventurer life they dreamed of, Light is happy just being with his friends. Wanting to celebrate their journey, he suggests they perform an invocation, a vow to wish each other good luck, just like a scene from One Piece. However, trouble is brewing. The Holy Sister isn't done with them yet. She forces the guild to assign Lena a dangerous S-rank job, hoping to make her regret leaving Sacred. As Lena shares the news with Light and Isa, Episode 2 ends on a tense note. Stay tuned for the next episode. For more updates, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next chapter in Light's journey. Until then,
Tama, once a foolish knight who met an embarrassing end at the hands of some lowly thugs, awakens in a dark labyrinth with fragmented memories of his past life. But to his shock, he has been reincarnated, not as a human, but as an S-rank behemoth, a creature so powerful that it can obliterate entire nations overnight. Despite his overwhelming strength, when Tama catches sight of his reflection, he is horrified to find that he now resembles nothing more than a dumb little cat. Soon after, a pathetic E-rank adventurer named Raru appears. Overcome by hunger, he is forced to bite the slime-like creature only to discover that it tastes strangely sweet. More importantly, he realizes that he has gained the monster's skills upon consuming it. Understanding the implications of this ability, Tama embarks on a food hunt, devouring various creatures, from flying lizards to rock monsters. Each meal grants him their unique abilities, further enhancing his already godly strength. However, his adventure takes a sudden turn when he stumbles upon what appears to be a treasure chest containing a red crystal. Excited, he reaches for it, but like a cruel trick straight out of a Souls game, it turns out to be a trap, teleporting him onto the back of an S-rank Earth Dragon. The battle is fierce. Tama's attack barely leaves a scratch on the dragon's hardened scales, while the dragon's counterattack sends him flying, causing him to bleed. Just as the beast moves to finish him off, he manages a last-minute counter and uses the chaos to escape through a cavern opening. Meanwhile, in a distant city, a stunning elf adventurer named Era, thicker than sin, begins her day. She arrives at the labyrinth entrance via boat, easily bypassing the guards with her special pendant. Back in the labyrinth, Tama barely clings to life as he stumbles toward the exit, only to collapse from blood loss. Before death can claim him again, Era discovers him and takes him home. When Tama regains consciousness, he finds himself bandaged and resting in Era's house, being nursed back to health by the busty elf. He is instantly overwhelmed by the sight of her beauty and generous plot, but what surprises him more is that Era seems completely unaware that he is actually a world-ending behemoth. For days, she tenderly cares for him, feeding, nurturing, and even sleeping beside him. As he recovers, Tama grows deeply attached to her, vowing to protect her at all costs. One day, Era leaves for the labyrinth and Tama secretly follows, fearing she might meet a gruesome fate akin to the women in Goblin Slayer. However, when she encounters a group of goblins, she easily slaughters them, taking their ears as proof of her kill. Just as Tama begins to relax, a goblin mage appears, launching a fireball directly at Era. Frozen in fear, she is unable to react, forcing Tama to intervene. He pushes her out of the way and slashes the goblin's ugly face, sending it plummeting to its death. Era, astonished by her pet's unexpected bravery, showers him with affection on their way back to town. At the guild, a sleazy adventurer named Cosmin, sporting a tragic haircut, approaches Era, demanding she join his party so he can sire elf children with her. Disgusted, Tama bites his hand, preventing him from laying a finger on her. Infuriated, Cosmin tries to retaliate, but Tama effortlessly rearranges his face with a well-placed claw strike. Just before Cosmin can escalate the situation, the guild receptionist, an intimidating ladyboy named Anna, steps in, threatening to personally clap Cosmin if he dares lay another hand on Era. Terrified, Cosmin flees. After saving Era twice, Tama is officially declared her pet, much to his delight. She spoils him with affection, stroking his fur, but when her hands begin drifting dangerously close to his baby jewels, Tama purrs uncontrollably. Later that night, after getting drunk, Era insists that Tama bathe with her. Initially, he refuses, but his willpower crumbles, and he finds himself soaking alongside her and her two massive floaties. As they relax, she opens up about her past, revealing how her village was attacked by demons and how a heroic elf warrior, the sword-saying Alicia, saved her. Alicia became Era's role model, inspiring her to grow stronger. Moved by her story, Tama snuggles against her. The next day at the guild, Cosmin returns, brandishing an official order demanding Tama's execution for attacking him. However, he offers a twisted alternative. If Era can defeat him in a duel, Tama will be spared. If she loses, she must become Cosmin's baby mama. With no other choice, Era accepts. That night, the entire city gathers to watch the duel between Cosmin, a C-rank adventurer, and Era, who is still only a D rank. Feeling cocky, Cosmin allows Era to choose a partner to fight alongside her. When no one steps forward, he laughs until Tama boldly steps up as her partner. The battle begins. Tama attacks first but quickly realizes that defeating Cosmin without revealing his true abilities is difficult. Era seizes the opportunity to strike, but Cosmin easily counters, knocking her down. Just as victory seems within his grasp, Tama makes a choice. Using his true strength, he launches Cosmin across the arena, sending his sword plunging straight into his own groin. The crowd watches in shock as Cosmin writhes in agony, while Tama resigns himself to his fate, believing his secret is out. However, instead of recognizing him as a behemoth, the spectators assume he is a rare elemental cat. As a result, Era is declared the winner, and Tama officially becomes her lifelong companion. The following morning, Tama wakes up beside Era and, feeling affectionate, licks her elf ear, only to realize she reacts a little too strongly, nearly drooling from her lower lips. Panicked, he jumps away, but Era pulls him back, demanding more. Later, they visit the blacksmith Vulcan, a busty muscle mommy who is thrilled to meet the legendary elemental cat. She eagerly crafts armor for Tama, dressing him up in stylish new gear. Meanwhile, Era requests a modification to her sword, but Vulcan explains that lightening it is impossible. Instead, she proposes a temporary party so she can analyze Era's fighting style firsthand. In the labyrinth, Era struggles against an orc but is saved by Tama. Observing her movements, Vulcan realizes the flaw in Era's fighting style. She is not suited for swords but would excel with knives. Testing the theory, they battle a roper, a tentacled monster that forces Era to adapt. With newfound agility, she slashes through the beast, though not before getting splattered with its creamy remains. Enraged by the roper's violation of his master, Tama obliterates the creature. As they bathe in a natural hot spring afterward, Vulcan reveals that elemental cats like Tama can crossbreed with other species. Curious, Era teasingly tells Tama to grow big and show her his true form. Their next battle pits them against a minotaur, and despite her speed, Era struggles. However, Tama saves Vulcan from being crushed by falling debris, making her fall for him even harder. Impressed by his strength, she officially joins their party. Weeks later, Tama wakes up between both women, overhearing them sleep-talking about wanting to bear his kittens. Determined to resist temptation, he focuses on his evolving abilities instead. One day, Ara and Tama encounter bandits harassing a young girl named Lala. Seeing Tama on Era's shoulders, the bandits flee in terror. Era takes Lala to an orphanage, where she is warmly welcomed by the nun. Tama silently vows to always support Era in her kindness. Later, at the guild, Anna congratulates Era on reaching C rank. However, the celebration is cut short when an emergency quest is announced. People are vanishing in the town of Rald, and demons may be responsible. Without hesitation, the noble and busty warrior volunteers for the mission,